Hey guys, it's Mel'zan. So, you no doubt have heard that the questing in New World is one of the things people dislike the most, and today I'm going to give you my thoughts on that subject. So, let's begin. Okay, so, the quests in New World are pretty much universally considered to be bad, or at least not on par with the rest of the game. And for what I can tell, the main reason for this is that they are very simplistic and repetitive. They are pretty much you talk to an NPC, the NPC tells you to kill a certain number of enemies, or the NPC tells you to collect a certain number of boxes, you do that, and you return. This is what basically every single quest is like, and there's very little to no narrative to the quests themselves. However, in addition to the normal quests, there's also the main story quest, which does have a narrative, although it's fairly simplistic and not a super in-depth story. And there are also quests that you get from the town project board. These are typically things that you pick up, kill a certain number of enemies again, or deliver certain specific items back to the town project board, and you get some small XP for it. The last type of quests in this game are faction quests. These are ones that you get specific to your faction, and they give you reputation and tokens that you can spend on your faction's gear. There are also PvP ones for your faction, but they're relatively the same. These are all just go to a certain area, collect a certain number of boxes, or kill a certain number of a specific enemy, just like all the other quests in the game. The faction quests, however, are repeatable, and you'll basically have a never-ending supply of them. You can get them, complete them, turn them in, and get new ones. The PvP ones, however, are always the same three. Now, do I think that the quests in New World are as bad as everybody else says? And the answer is kind of. The quests themselves are extremely boring and repetitive. However, I do not think they are designed or intended to be their own content. What I mean by this is that if you treat quests as entirely their own content, you go out, you complete the quest, and you turn it back in, they will not be very enjoyable and they will be very repetitive and boring. However, if you treat them as simply a destination and a way to get you out into the world, then I find that they are much more enjoyable. So in my experience in MMOs, like in RuneScape or in WoW or in ESO, when you decide to do quests, what you're doing is quests. They are the content. That is what you set out to do, and that is what you do. However, most of the enjoyment that I get, and I think a lot of people get in New World, is the world itself, not necessarily the quests or the content within it. So if you accept that when you pick up a quest and you decide to go complete it, what you're doing is not necessarily just going to complete that quest, but getting out in the world of New World while also completing that quest in order to get XP from it and level up, then I find that is a much more enjoyable experience. So if you try to just complete the quests on their own and treat them as their own form of content, you will not get the same sort of adventure that you will in RuneScape, or the story that you will in Final Fantasy XIV. It will be pretty dull and pretty boring. However, if you think of quests as a way just to get the player into the world, to explore the world, and to gather and craft within it, then I think they are a perfectly acceptable and fine way of accomplishing that goal. Despite this, certain quests are still very annoying no matter what. Again, I think they should be mostly thought of and treated as a way to get the player into the world and be mini objectives once you're out there. However, some quests, like the ones that want you to gather a certain number of boxes, will want you to gather way too many and they'll take way too long and become very tedious to complete. And on top of that, the main story quest line wants you to go all over the world. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing if it gradually moved you from one area to another until it eventually takes you across almost all of Eternum. However, every single quest will want you to go into an entirely another direction many kilometers away, which if you don't use fast travel, can take an extremely long time. If you do use fast travel, then it's kind of pointless and strange. So overall, the quests in New World are pretty generic and pretty repetitive, and I totally understand why most people do not like them and consider them a significant negative to the game. I personally do not find them that big of a deal due to how well the rest of the world is constructed and designed, and how enjoyable it is just to be in it, to gather and to craft within it. However, if you are expecting intricate quests like in RuneScape, or exciting and interesting stories like in Final Fantasy XIV, then you will definitely be disappointed and dislike the quests in New World. Anyway, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also check me out on Twitch. I will leave a link to it in my description. And I will see you guys next time.